Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Sully Squad. We got a huge week this week. First off, it's a big. First off, we'll take the baseball aspect. It's a huge rematch of last year's NLDS, which didn't end too good for us here in Philadelphia. And I know it's one of my favorite weekends of the whole year, NFL draft weekends. I know Sean, you and I mean, God, we were teenagers bullshitting about the draft. I mean, I remember you coming over to my grandpa's house, and remember my grandfather would get Mel Kiper's draft guide.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I think that's how it started with us, breaking it down, having our mocks. As we got older, like who would go where. Yeah, man, it brings back memories. But I still do it. Shit.
I know. Yeah, Jeff. Sean and I go way back, and we would be kids, and I was gonna say we all watched the draft in my grandfather's basement a few times, and somebody would get picked, and we pull out the guide, you know what I mean, and
see his stats, see if he was worthy of the pick.
Were you over the Mike Mamula draft? I'm trying to remember. I don't know if you were over for that one, but that wasn't a good memory. Thank God the draft much better now.
Yeah. I bumped into him at a nightclub.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well,
I'm surprised you didn't miss him because he misses everybody.
Yeah,
well,
I know.
The funny thing was, he was coming out of the men's room, and I was like, "Your zipper's down, buddy."
See what I mean? He misses everything. He probably didn't hit the urinal either.
You know what's funny? It's funny because if Mike Mamula was like a third round pick, he actually wouldn't have been bad. The problem was that they traded up to get him, and then they didn't get that. But if you got, I mean, Jeff, you had a great point because it's almost like remember the movie Kingpin where they said you got Munson. So I always think of today when a guy almost gets a sack, it's almost like he Mamula'd that John.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's pretty much a Mamula,
Yeah, that's pretty much. He was that combine warrior, as you all know.
It. The combine
bench pressing, the vertical jump.
Yep.
And like my cousin just said to me, Howie Mamula was Howie's Rieger, which is true.
Yeah.
But
it's true.
Yeah, so
who was
hopefully we don't miss out on
who was that one guy that we drafted? He had all the tools and he didn't pan out. And then
Leonard Renfro?
No. It was we got him in the second round or third round.
What position?
Remember he was he safety?
Oh, there was a guy.
He ended up going to Seattle, but we didn't. He didn't do anything. But he had all the tools. They took him. It was Reed. It was Reed's first or second year, and this guy had all these tools, and he's going to be great in this and that. God, I cannot remember his name.
Well, I mean, thank God we're the world champions, and the Eagles. I mean, I don't know what's happened because Howie has a lot of strengths, but for a while drafting wasn't one of them. Well, the last 4 years, I mean, I don't know what happened, man. Maybe he made a deal with the devil or something. But Howie's drafts have been phenomenal the last 4 years. You know what I mean? He's, that's one of the reasons why this football team is so, is our world champions. I mean, you go back to all right, 2020. Obviously, everybody picks. The Jalen Reagor was terrible. We all know that, right? Yeah. But the very next round, I mean, the balls. I mean, you want to talk about having balls that clang. Taking Jalen Hurts in the second round after you paid Carson Wentz all that money. I mean, your balls are clanging, dude. You're putting them on the table.
I think I even said it to you, Joe. When me and you were going back and forth in a group text, I'm like, I can't believe they took Jalen Reagor, but you know what? They knew something that we didn't know. And lo and behold, look at what Wentz. It's a shame. The injury, he got us to that Super Bowl. hence the knee injury with the Rams. The rest is history. And then you come on later to find out he kind of alienated himself. He wasn't, I guess, so to speak, a team player. The only guy that he was friends with was Jordan Matthews. Everybody else, he didn't want no parts of, but.
Yeah. Mike Papernick Jr. says he loves the draft. I watch every round. Yeah. I don't watch every round, but I mean, but I admit though, I'll even watch a little bit Saturday, by Saturday at round 12. Like I like to see like the top of the fourth round, you know what I mean? And then after that, I kind of follow it. But yeah, the draft is great. I mean,
yeah, I'm kind of right there with Mike. I watch it. It's.
I watch like the first 3 or 4 rounds only because of fantasy football. I like to see who's coming up and who I could sneak.
Let's see. Paul Spencer with a comment here. He says, "Fellas, real quick, Daddy Sanders retire his son 13-12 record and Travis Hunter's jersey, while Cordell Stewart remains what's that? I can't. What does that say? Oh, remains not. A total disgrace by Colorado University. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised Cordell Stewart's jersey's not retired. You know what I mean? That Colorado was back was. I mean, they were, early 90s, they were fighting for national championships. How about Eric Bieniemy? Eric Bieniemy had a great career in Colorado too,
I don't think Sanders is going to be anything fabulous in the league. I really don't. I think he's an average quarterback. And I wouldn't, me personally, I don't know if I could draft him knowing that Deion's behind him. Deion's a pain in the ass. Deion is one of those guys that'll be on you for everything. Kind of like, what's his face?
He holds you accountable, basically,
Yeah. Oh, here's another draft memory. How about the fireman, Danny Watkins?
Yeah. He's putting out fires in Canada. Good luck.
Yeah. Well, he couldn't put out a fire in the offensive backfield because he sucked, man. But that was a classic example of a guy. You see this in colleges a lot. Like the guy that's a little bit older, like what was he, about a 25, 26-year-old rookie?
Yeah.
So he was bigger than a lot of these guys. And then he goes to the pros against guys that are bigger than him and faster than him, and he didn't want it, and he got his ass kicked.
Well, look at Dan Kendra from Florida State. Old quarterback, had all the tools, and like you said, once college and pros are totally two different ball games, and he never really implemented his game from the college game to the pro level, and hence and behold, he wasn't shit, I think that just like Jeff said, I think Shador's going to be like that hype thing, nothing more. Good, let him go to Cleveland, where all QBs die,
Yeah, that's for sure.
And watch his buddy Travis Hunter, who I think will flourish, shine, But it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to see a lot of trades, I'm going to put it out there. I sense Trey Hendrickson coming here for us.
I hope so.
We need an edge rusher. We hyped up with the Myles Garrett and this and that. But just with the situation with Hendrickson's contract and how he owns Kansas City's Patrick Mahomes, and he's a hell of an edge guy, and he could play nose. I see him coming here. He wants to win.
He would fit this team.
He wants to win, and he fits the mold. Yep. I know age, but once you get to a different team in this culture and this, it rejuvenates you. I guarantee it's going to do something.
That's a huge thing. I mean,
yeah, I see him
want to come here.
I see him coming here. Might be right, it might be wrong.
All right,
but I'm better than Mel Kiper.
If he was on the Titans, he would, because they just trade everybody.
Yeah,
to us.
Well, it's AJ.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you get Treylon Burks, Mr. Asthmatic.
Yeah. So you know what's funny? I was going to open up with the Phillies, but you know what though? Let's get into the draft. We'll get to the Phillies later, because I feel like we already kind of started with the draft, and
that bullpen's pretty
like
good, right?
Huh?
That bullpen's pretty solid, right?
Yeah, I can't, dude. We'll rip that. We could rip them later, and then the other thing is, you know what? I'll put a Phillies question out there real quick. Like, tonight you got Nola going, and the way Nola, I'll tell you what, Nola's very Nola is very concerning right now because, he's in the second year of a 7-year contract.
Yep.
His average fastball velocity right now is 91 miles an hour. And, when you're throwing 91 as a right-hander, you better have like Greg Maddux type location or you're going to get shelled. And he, I mean, dude, like he's getting shelled with home runs every friggin' start.
Yep.
Well, I think Nicky 3 buttons tonight is going to come through because every time there's a death, which Pope Francis,
there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money bet out there because of that.
25. So
it's funny you brought that up.
3 buttons comes in and saves the day because Nola's going to serve up some meatballs, but that's all from me. So
you're right.
Well, what's funny though, because everybody obviously, like everybody says, like the Nick Castellanos, like in the past, like he's always come through with like huge home runs, and anytime somebody dies or something happens. Well, I bet on him 3 times this year when something happened, and he hasn't come through. So my buddy sent me the picture. Johnny Teat sent me the picture of
Pope Francis.
Yeah, it was the Pope and Nick, and he's like, you in? I'm like, nah, I'm out today, dude. Because like now I'm at the point where he's come up small like 3-4 times around. I'm going to be at the point where I'm out like $60-$70 now.
I'm calling it right now.
Right, I'm good.
You're not betting. You're not betting today.
Oh, so he's definitely hitting a dinger.
He's definitely going to dinger because I'm not doing it. Yeah, because I was up. I hit a I didn't really bet many games in the tournament, but I hit a tournament game and I was up. So it was a Castellanos like a few weeks back, and I was like, you know what? I was like, screw it. I put 25 on him, so I would have won like 160, and then like he came up small. Then I did another 10 or something like that, and then now I'm like, nah, I'm out. So you're right. He's going to hit one tonight, obviously.
I've had Florida and Houston real quick. I know jumped to football draft. Florida and Houston in the March Madness final.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. So I've jumped up from like 29th worldwide to 12th.
Wow.
Yeah. Shame I didn't win anything though.
So Michael Packard, we might as well stick to the Phillies now. We just wing this, John. You know what I mean?
Let's just screw people up. We'll go all over the place. We'll even hit like the wings.
I would rather, you know what? I'd rather be like Seinfeld. Would be like the show that talks about nothing.
There you go.
I don't think 0-5 that would stink, Mike. But I don't see that happening because I think what other options do we have?
Topper won't do it.
Painter in the waiting. He's looking solid. Props to him, but it's just like Walker. He's in it to win it in the lineup. Well, that's all there is to it.
Well, he's also making what, like $24-25 million a year through for the next 5 years. I mean, I think he's signed through 2029. I mean, so guess what? Aaron Nola could give up 5-6 runs a game, and his ass is going to be out there every single fifth day. I mean, that's just how it is, We just got to hope that he finds it. Mike Pappernett Jr. says the Phillies are a bad team with a winning record. I wouldn't go that far. Yeah, they're not a bad team. They have a bad outfield. They have a bad outfield. They have a bullpen that looks like it might be kind of bad, other than a guy or two.
Well, here's the problem with your bullpen. Okay, we'll start with this bullpen. So you're going to do what happened last year in the playoffs. You went with Hoffman, who's kicking ass right now.
Yeah,
15 games, 1.35 ERA or something.
Probably,
and I was not a huge Estevez, but he's doing good.
He's knocking it down. I got him in fantasy. He's solid.
Maybe he was just getting, he came over and just got readjusted to the league here. And, I've always seen most of the time when you see a pitcher or somebody come over to the league, the first year isn't the greatest. Just like New York's all over Soto. He's coming back again. He's, you flip flop, it takes a little bit of time to get used to these pitchers and all this stuff. But you're going to wear out, Alvarado. You're going to wear out,
Kirkring,
who's, he does serve up one here and there.
He does.
It happens.
But you have to have identity, like we said, Jeff. Like you're going to be the 7th. Joey's going to be 8th. I'm going to be the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, okay, let's do mixing cups. You're the 7th, vice versa. Stay with what you got, but that's not how it is with us. You got, like you said, Alvarado's eating innings. And you can even see it on him. He's like, why the bleep am I out here? I shouldn't be, but I am.
And Strom, I mean, he's doing well. Then was it Tanner? He's doing okay.
Taylor Banks or whatever. Yeah, the
Tanner
guy got from
Joe Ross has been serviceable, but he's starting to serve it up now. You can see
Hernandez,
he's hittable.
Ortiz.
Yep.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Ruiz.
Ruiz. Yep. We just don't. Dombrowski just did not do a good job with this bullpen.
No, he didn't.
And the team in general, I'm thinking about in the team. This is almost like a retread. It really is. This is like, okay, we're going to go with the same guys again and see if this could be the last time we can pull it out. And they really didn't bring in anybody.
No.
And I don't know.
The star names, whatever. But at least they should have went, and I know you guys can agree, serviceable guys that get it done. Like Estevez, you could have had him, but, I mean, he probably went for more money, but it would have been nice to keep guys like him.
Hoffman wanted to stay here. Hoffman literally said he would stay here at a discounted price. He liked everything about it. It's just that they thought they burned him out, and he wasn't going to pass their physical. Toronto said, nope, doesn't pass the physical. Then he takes it again, and he takes less money. Oh, you passed the physical.
Yeah, he was supposed to go to Baltimore since you say that, and they failed him. And then he went up to Toronto, and Toronto said, you know what, we drafted you. We're going to sign you.
Yeah.
So
what I don't understand is, like, you go and you sign a reclamation project like a Romano, right?
Mm-hmm. Little Dicky.
Romano should be pitching for these guys right here. He should be an iron pig right now with what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
true.
He's got Romano has nothing right now.
No. Nope.
I also agree with Mike Papernick right here. He said the bullpen has no roles and closer by committee has not worked since Robbie has been here.
I said that. Yeah, I said that. It's so true. It's not going to work.
I agree with that.
It's 100% true. And the season's still early, but like I said to you in that text, Joey, they got to get their shit together. We're in for a long haul.
Yeah,
it ain't gonna be pretty.
Like this is a perfect example right here. Like Romano coming off a hurt elbow, you pay him $8.5 million. Yeah. Then Joe Ross is coming off an injury either. I mean, to me, I would have rather, Hoffman was an all-star last year. I mean, did he suck in the Mets series? Yes, he sucked in the Mets series. But the bottom line is, though, at least you knew what you had in Hoffman. I mean, you let him and Estevez go, and then I don't know. I just have serious problems, and maybe this might be maybe this isn't fair because John Middleton does spend a lot of money, right? So maybe this criticism isn't fair, but there's a thing in business and in life, it's called sunk cost, right? So it's like, the Phillies have this payroll that's like, third or fourth in Major League Baseball?
Yes.
Okay. So, he's already spending all this money. And I get that. I would understand the counter argument if somebody goes to me, well, a general manager should be able to build a winning World Series team with a $200 and some million payroll. I totally get that. So Dombrowski, his ass needs to be on the.
He's the one. He's the one I blame for this. He really is the one.
No, and I agree, and I think you're right, Jeff. But like my point, I guess what I'm saying is, though, what if like ownership? What if it's a situation where ownership goes, hey, you know what? I'm spending $200 and some million. Let's run it back. We won 95 games last year. We just didn't hit in the playoffs. Let's run it back. If that is the case, they were dead wrong because everybody could see last October the center field position absolutely sucks.
Atrocious.
It's atrocious. it's the worst center field in all Major League Baseball. If it's not the worst, it's bottom 2 or 3.
Yep.
Then left field, you go out and you sign a guy.
Left fielder.
Yeah, you go out and you sign a guy in Kepler. Maybe he could do okay, but let's be real here.
He's a bench player.
Yeah, the league didn't think too highly of him because you got him for what, like $10 million, $8 to $10 million. That's not dick cheese in 2025 Major League Baseball for starting outfielder. So, and then the bullpen. I mean, you go out, thank God Alvarado looks like he found it. Can you imagine if we had the Alvarado that was pitching last year? This bullpen would even be worse.
Yeah, so well.
So, I mean, yeah, like I'm extremely disappointed in Dave Dombrowski, and Mike Papernick criticizes Rob Thompson, and I'm with him because there's a lot of times I don't love Rob Thompson's moves, so I'm with Mike on that, but. In all fairness to Thompson, though, in some cases, what the hell can he really do? I mean, he's going to Rojas, he's going to Kepler, he's going to Romano. I mean, you don't have a lot of moves.
So right now, what he has to do. This is what Thompson has to do, and he has to stop being their buddy and friend so much. And he has putting Stott in the leadoff spot. That's working. Keep it. Let it go for a while. Don't play with it. I kind of like the way the lineup is right now.
Yeah.
It actually is working. Bryce is seeing more pitches. Who wants to pitch to what's his face? Schwarber. So you got finally someone to protect them.
Schott, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, and then Realmuto, I believe, Jeff.
Yeah.
And then
it's a Bohm.
Yeah, Bohm. And then
whoever's in center field, and then
yeah.
I mean, it's
you're right.
It's not bad lineup that way, and Schwarber's still hitting his home runs.
Yeah,
Stock and Rojas, but he's getting on base.
Rojas has to stop doing bonus plays like what was it the other night from second stealing third or yesterday.
Yep.
Like, dude, you're not getting there.
Sosa was batting great. Sosa's not doing that great now, but he was on fire. You got to keep playing him. Put him in at third base. I don't give a shit with Bohm. Bohm's just going to go off and cry like he always does. I'm tired of his antics.
Yeah.
I'm tired of him slamming his helmet and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
If I was Harper, I'd go over and punch him in the side of the head and say, grow up, kid. And that's not how this works.
I know. It drives me crazy because, like, Bohm is at least starting to get hits. I think he's on, like, a 7-game hitting streak. But I agree with you guys, though. I mean, you look at Bohm. I mean, what's he, like 6'5", like 215? I mean, no, zero. I've never seen a guy built like him that has zero power. I mean,
he's not a prototypical third baseman that you usually have out there. 30 home runs, whatever, 100 RBIs. He's just not that type of guy, which is fine. If he hits doubles, whatever, he just still doesn't have that swing. It's just, I don't know. His body language and his facial feature just does not look like he's enjoying it, or he's like, oh shit, I got to go up again. And that's the kind of look you get. Like last year with Walker pitching, when he went out there, he had this like smirk on his face, like, oh well, I'm here. I'll just throw it. If I get knocked out of the game, who cares? I got paid. It's just like I don't give a shit. You don't do that in any team, but especially Philly.
Yeah, well, number one, the fans, obviously, like with football, they know the game, just like baseball. They know it. It's like a family member. It's you care for them. You're gonna let them know when they're screwing up, when they're up. Commemorate them, congratulate them. But all in all, it's just like a total shit show what we're seeing because the Saturday game, 11-10. We should have had that lead, and it should have stayed.
And Topper should have had him out. I blame him for that.
Yeah,
he should have had that pitcher out. What's his face out long before that.
Yeah.
Sometimes he stays in the field. I'll go work his way out.
Mike Papernick's question, with Rob Thompson, I'm right there with him because the thing that pissed me off was I even posted on Facebook with JT's strike, but it was a ball.
Yeah.
And they called it a strike. If I'm the manager, I'm going out there showing some emotion. Like, kick the dirt, do whatever,
Yep.
Berate the dude, call him whatever. He just stood there like a zombie, like I'm looking at you right now. It's like, really?
Yep. Yeah.
And I know it had to piss JT off as well as the team.
I would think so.
But
I agree.
I'm not hitting the panic button. But we really, like we're saying, they need to address who is where in this bullpen. Like you said, Jeff, I like the lineup. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Boom. If you got a set of balls, untuck them. Other than that, because people don't forget, just like you said, when he said, I bleep and hate this place.
Yeah.
That right there, they're not going to let you forget. And they probably say it to him too.
He came out, he made his just desserts or whatever you want to call it. And, I apologize. I didn't mean it, blah, 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 blah. I mean, remember Schmitty back in the day, how to come out in a week at what he said, and it's great of a player he is. He still had to come out and he made a joke of it, and he came back into the graces of the Phillies. Yeah. It happens. But Bohm's getting that same kind of attitude again. You could just see it in his body language and his facial features, and slamming the helmets. It's not going to work.
No, it's not.
I'm tired of the annex.
Oh, it's like that kid on your baseball team throwing a tantrum. And that's exactly what he's doing, but at the adult level. Yeah. And your teammates are going to call you out, just like you said. Maybe Bryce, maybe somebody else. Hopefully it's somebody that we don't realize that it's going to be that person, but he needs to be held accountable and suck it up. You're a grown man. You're not playing college ball. You're playing a game that everybody would love to play.
They need a third baseman on the bench, because I know Sosa's there, but they need somebody who's got guts as a third baseman and say, "I'm coming after your job because you ain't doing it." Get in his ear,
challenge him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
couldn't agree more. And he wouldn't be up for the challenge because of his
psyche.
Yeah, psyche. His attitude.
If they really tried to trade him and it wasn't just bullshit all over the internet. If they really tried to trade him during the season, nobody bid for him. Tells you something.
True.
What do you got? What do you guys think of this? I got a couple comments here.
I agree with this.
Yeah, Mike Papernick says the Phillies' personality has taken on Robbie's personality, which is like a wet blanket, a wet paper towel. I do agree with that too. And it's funny. I was having a discussion with one of my friends today, back and forth. Maybe this isn't fair, right? But all right. So I don't want to sound like an old curmudgeon, and I'll preface this by saying this really didn't bother me that much, but my buddy hated it. How Bryce had the different bat last week that had the
gender of his baby.
Gender reveal that, yeah.
Yeah. I'll preface this by saying I really didn't care. It didn't really bother me because I look at it. It's one game, one at bat out of 162 games, whatever. Exactly. So I was okay with it. But I kind of agree. I see where his point is though, because his point is he brought up and said, it's we all know Bryce Harper wants to win. We all know the Phillies want to win.
Yeah.
So when you look at the Phillies' attitude, it kind of gives the impression that they would like to win, right? Mm-hmm. But they want to win their way, kind of having fun and being like the cool clubhouse and all that stuff. And when you compare the Phillies to how the Eagles were, the Phillies lost the World Series a couple years ago, then they lost Arizona, and then it's we want to get back, we want to win, but they wanted to do it kind of on their terms. Now, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and you look at their mentality of how they were this past year versus the Super Bowl, the Eagles lose that Super Bowl a couple years ago to Kansas City. And Jalen Hurts' screenshot is the Chiefs confetti coming down. Uh-huh. And then you look at the Eagles all last year, it seemed like that football team was on a mission. We're getting back to the Super Bowl. We're winning the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And I thought it was kind of interesting conversation because it's kind of and it goes to what the Phillies did this offseason, which was absolutely nothing. The Philadelphia Eagles last offseason go out and get Saquon Barkley. You know what I mean? They lock up their guys. That the Eagles, you look at these two organizations, and it's like the Eagles seem to go for it all the time, and then the Phillies, it's almost like, oh, we're good. We won 95 games last year. We just didn't hit. That's okay. We'll run it back. Like, what's your guys' thoughts on that? Because I thought it was interesting. Because
Stott was interviewed. Stott was interviewed after one of the games when he was one of the stars of the game. And I forget who it was that interviewed him and said, well, how does it feel to not have somebody throwing water down your back and throwing food at you? And he said, well, we knew we needed to start to grow up. So the daycare is over. We're getting down to business. We're almost 28. So that has been squelched. They're not doing that kind of, kids' room anymore. And that had to come from like a Schwarber or a Turner or Harper. Somebody said, you know what, enough of the play and stuff here. So that's going.
Harper.
I don't think they're having enough fun on the bench to a point, because you always see them. Remember how they, I know the other teams are all mimicking what the Phillies did a couple years ago. They have a hat, they have a helmet, they have a sword. Everybody has all that shit. Remember we had a bamboo tree or whatever it was. We had all different things. They just don't look like they're happy. They're staying up against the thing and just looking at the game. They don't look together. For some reason, they just don't look like a team together right now. Before, they looked like they were having fun. You don't see them crack a smile, if that makes sense. I know it's very competitive, but they just don't look like they're having fun. That's a big thing, I think, is you're having fun. You're playing for each other, with each other, and all that, and it just doesn't seem to be there. I don't know.
Yeah, see that. Yeah, see. That's why I thought it was an interesting conversation, because, like, you have the different perspective where they're not having enough fun. Where my buddy that I was talking to was saying, oh, hey, this is bullshit. It's a major league at bat, and this dude's going up doing gender reveals, and I was kind of like, yeah, I get your point, but like, it's one at bat out over,
exactly. How many
baseball's a
times
long season, so it's I can see it both ways. You know what I mean?
Stott did it for his best friend. I don't know if you saw it. He had a little pink ribbon on his what do you call it, lapel or whatever. That was for his best friend or whatever like that, who has his gender reveal was they were having a baby girl. He did the same thing.
No, I get it. I mean, because the one thing to your point, the one thing with baseball is there are so many games, so it's like So I brought up like Jimmy Rollins as an example. Like, I think Jimmy Rollins played hard just about every single game. I mean, he played a great. Jimmy Rollins probably the best shortstop this franchise has ever had. You know what I mean? But even Jimmy got benched a few times for not running balls out. But I do agree with my buddy John, as far as I do agree though that even though I think most people don't really think it's that big a deal, it does kind of give a perception out there. You know what I mean? A little bit where
Harper didn't run out a ball a couple games ago, and he would have been safe at first base, or would have been really damn close, and nothing happened. And I said right there, that's the problem right there.
Yeah.
I love Harper to death. I don't want to see him sit a game or two, but as a coach, you have to do that and say, I don't give a shit if you're the best player in the league. I don't care if you're Ohtani. You don't run a ball out, you're sitting your ass down here and watching the game.
Well, that's where
what needs to happen.
That's where Mike's point here. Rob Thompson, he's everybody's buddy in that dugout, and in that dugout, it almost makes you wonder, are these guys kind of, are they too
aloof.
comfortable?
Aloof is the word now.
Yeah,
I can do this, and I'm not going to get in trouble. A rookie wouldn't do it, but I can do this. I'm not going to get in trouble. He might walk by me and say something, but nobody's going to get in trouble.
I want to be held accountable. I don't, know what I mean? Like,
and I
don't want to be coddled.
I was listening today. You heard about the Braves game with that Melnick or whatever the hell his name is, Melnick, and then Acuna coming out and saying, "I'll get pulled from the game." Yeah. That's what needs to happen here: accountability.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So because I want to get into football in a couple minutes. Let's look at this week. Let's look at this week's action that's coming up. Yeah. All right. First off, the question below: any faith in Nola tonight? I got to be honest. I don't. I think he gets shelled tonight. I don't have.
I heard the Phillies signed Utley as a free agent against the Mets for this series. So
yeah.
I think he serves up 2 meatballs, and it's going to be pretty.
Yeah, let's go over this. All right, so let's look at this next here. Let me look at the next week. I know. What do we have? 3 with the Mets.
Yep.
And then
All right, so
3 with the Cubs, I believe.
wow, yeah, this is now this week will be obviously early in the season still, but this is a measuring stick series because you got 3 in New York and then 3 in Chicago, and the Cubs are playing good ball too.
Mm-hmm. They're
All
hitting
right,
the ball.
so what's our record in these next 6?
I think they go even.
3-3. I'll tell you what. Against 2 good teams on the road, I'd actually sign up for 3-3 right now. I'd take 3-3 right now. I'd sign up.
3-3.
Yeah.
3-3.
Yeah, boy, I'm going to sound pessimistic. I'm going 2-4.
It could be.
And it's basically just because of the friggin' bullpen. I mean, and all right, and then one other question here. So, what are we 13-9 right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it should be 14-8, by the way, because the bullpen sucks. But all right, so 13-9. If they go 2-4, the way I'm saying, so that would be 15. Wait, yeah, that'd be what?
15-13.
Okay, yeah, 15-13. Sorry, yeah, I know. I needed my fingers and toes. Not exactly good at. I'm not exactly a math major over here. All right, so 15-13. So the Rob Thompson question, like they gave him an extension after last year. If this team somehow gets to, say they're floundering, say they're like a 25-29 or something, do you think it's possible that his job could be in jeopardy in like a month and a half?
Not unless Harper goes to Middleton. Topper's here for the rest of the year. Then they can think about it. If they don't make the playoffs, I think he's here for the year, though. They got to give it. I mean, if you think of anything, they got to give him that. They're not going to pull a Girardi on him, if that makes sense. He's going nowhere. Look what he's done. He's one of the winningest coaches in the league and all this.
He's in it to win it, and I think they do some reevaluating after the season. Unfortunately, for people that want Robbie Wet Thompson to go, but so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like I know my man Mike Kaepernick. I mean, he wanted to fire him 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? I get his point because there's things about Rob Thompson that I've never liked. I mean, I've never liked his in-game managing. I mean, even when it was working for him, I was like, what the hell is he doing? And then it worked out, and I was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like part of his cool mystique was and in baseball it's a lot of personalities too.
Here's my question to get us off of baseball in a roundabout way, or at least my last thing. So let's say you could let go with Thompson 2 weeks from now. Who is actually out there? Who do you bring in that you think could actually make a change to the lineup, to the way the game's played, to everything that the Phillies would even respond to? I can't think of anybody. There's nothing that can be done. It's the same players, same pitchers. So
Dusty Baker?
I don't know if he's. They got to get used to something different.
Yeah,
I know. It's
That's a hard one. I got to really look. It's a shame. I would love to Uncle Charlie, but he's at that age, But
you can't.
But you can't. But
he would be great on the bench. He would be great on the bench. A name that I would love, although we just signed a huge contract, a name I think would be great on the bench would be Kruk. I think Kruk could get into their heads. He's been there with guys that should never have made it in the '93 World Series, and he would make it fun and he would make the game interesting for the Phillies. But there are certain names on the bench, not as a manager. But right now, I can't think of anybody who's a manager that could change what they're doing with the players that they have. They're stuck with what they have right now.
Yeah.
That's the way I think about it. I could be wrong. That's just my perspective on looking at it. It's the retread of NFL football, whatever.
No, I agree with it. I think you're right. I don't really see him going anywhere, and I'm not even really advocating for him to get fired. I mean, I think you probably got to let this year play out.
He's in it to win it. Yeah, he's in for the long haul.
I think you got to let this year play out. But But anyway, yeah, you're right. So all right, so we all you guys think the Phillies go 3-3. Mike Papernick thinks they go 3-3. I think they're 2-4, but it is early. So we'll see what happens.
So here's a segue for you, Joe. All right.
Yes.
So at least we don't have any major injuries. But if we do.
Well, if we do, yeah, you gotta call my man. Well, I gotta find it here.
I set you all up and everything.
It's all good. Well, to be honest with you, yeah, injuries, yes. And then also, something tells me that if Rob Thompson keeps screwing up, Mike Papernick would like to drive. Mike Papernick would like to go in that dugout and start bitch slapping Rob Thompson. And just to put it out there, personal injuries, if Rob Thompson does get bitch slapped by Mike, he could call Jason Fine, a.k.a. Attorney Big Al, motor vehicle accident, slip and fall, workers' compensation, or personal injury claims. He's got 3 offices throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey, 1 in Philadelphia, PA, 1 in Cherry Hill, and 1 in Pittsburgh. So, hey, when you get hurt, my man's going to get you paid. So, but anyway, getting into some football here because it's nice to have. It's so nice to be Super Bowl champion. It's not picking to 32. We basically are like this. We're like, this is great.
Beat it.
You know what I mean? But
feet up in the air with a cigar in her mouth.
Yeah, but while we are while the Eagles are Super Bowl champions, a lot of work to be done though. Let's be real. Most talented roster in the NFL last year. Super Bowl champs, but this team has some work to be done.
Okay.
So lots of names, lots of mocks. So let's go over some possible picks here. As far as rumors go, Sean, I guess I'll start with you. Like, what do you think the odds are? What do you think the odds are that they stay at 32? What do you think it's more likely that they move up or move down? And who are some of the guys you're looking at?
They're moving down. I see them moving to in Arizona, maybe even the Baltimore Ravens, hint, like Lamar Jackson, to get that edge rusher, that top-notch safety. There's 2 guys out there, Malachi Starks, the kid that I like from South Carolina, Nick Amore. Mm-hmm. Everybody, I'm listening and watching Mike Nolan. He's a hell of an athlete, but he has a lot of off-the-field problems from Ole Miss. He's not your Jalen Carter. But would I take him? No, I like to have the kid Graham from Michigan or the kid from Oregon. 2 big boys. But that's my take on it. But I think we're gonna trade it.
Well, you think trade up or trade down?
Trade down.
Okay. All right, I got it. How about Jeff? How about you? Because I know, and Adam Schefter was on.
Yeah.
Schefter was on today, thinking he could see the Eagles possibly trading for a few veteran players, out there, but probably nobody that would really make any money. You know what I mean? Like maybe a young vet or something. What's your thoughts?
If they trade, I mean, they do have enough picks this year.
Yeah.
So they could move up if they got the right deal. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they might go for, what do they like? They like Pierce. They like, obviously everybody likes Carter. He's going.
Mike Green.
Going.
Mike Green from Marshall.
Is it Mike Green? Yeah, Mike Green.
Mike Green from Marshall. Pierce from Tennessee.
Supposedly he comes with a little bit. They're wondering why he didn't go to a bigger school, but he had the chance. They said to go to Tulane or somewhere else, but he said no, he wants to stick with Marshall. He didn't
got a motor.
But he's a possibility. So it really, I think that's where this contract that you had sent to me today, Joe, that when we signed, Juergens for a period of time, I think that was all part of, I'm going to say, Howie's magic. There's something up his sleeve. We don't know what it's going to be. He could trade down, or he could take a player that another team wants and then do a swap out, and possibly move Goddard
and hopefully Bryce Huff.
and Huff.
I see something like I was talking to Joe. I see Bryce Huff, Goddard. Something's he's going to work his magic.
That's it. Something's brewing, but I guess things have to fall right because you don't know who's going to. You got the 1 and 2 usually. 1, 2, or 3 are usually there. You're already signed. Then it's after that. You don't know who's going to take who. There's always oh my God, they took this. Then all of a sudden, it's like I already watched it the other night again for the millionth time, Draft Day, because it's coming up. My favorite movie, and you just don't know. Maybe we'll take Putney. Who knows? You know what I mean? But I could see them moving. I don't think they're going to pick a 32. And if they don't find the person that they absolutely want, I think, like I said, Howie knows enough. They'll move down and get some extra picks. If somebody they do want or another team wants, they might do a pick and trade.
Yeah. Like not only that, like Mike Papernick brings up, just remember the Eagles have a lot of ammunition, which is true. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of our ammunition, if I'm not mistaken, is a lot of third-round picks, and the second round. They're like the chips, the trade, to get where you have to go. Like I was reading something. We trade the 32nd pick, the 96th pick of this year's draft, and the 101 pick, if I'm not mistaken, or the 161st. And we move down with Arizona, and we get the guys like we're all saying we want. It's going to be interesting. That's what makes it fun. And,
it's going to be a different draft. That's a big thing. It's going to be a different type of draft for us.
Like Jackson Dart, he's moving up on draft boards.
That's a great point though, because we're sitting there at 32. Yeah. Say nobody goes. Say Jackson Dart or also the kid from Alabama, Milrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Say one of those kids is sitting there at 32, and you're a team like the Saints, Giants, or Browns who didn't take the quarterback, right? Yeah. Well, you're gonna the 32 pick's gonna be very attractive because you're gonna want to get a guy on the 5th-year option, especially a quarterback.
Oh, absolutely.
A la the Lamar Jackson trade. So the Eagles could sit there at 32, move down a couple spots. Yes. I'll give you a guy. I'll give you a guy right here. The Eagles. I saw it on X today. I'm gonna butcher his name. The kid from BC? The kid from UCLA, Oluwafemi Olachalu. I don't know, dude. It says here.
Is he a safety or an edge rusher? Is he a safety or an edge?
No, he's an edge. He's from UCLA. But the Eagles supposedly like him. I think the Ravens like them. A few teams like him. But say, he could go anywhere. They were saying from like 28 to like 40. So say you're sitting there at 32. Another guy, Mike Papernick says right here, Goddard's available Goddard's available in trade. I don't see them trading Jordan Davis, but Goddard's available in trade.
I think he's on the table too.
He can't play 4 downs.
You think so?
Pretty good when he's in there. He can't play 4 downs. I mean, he just
I know that, but you think they trade him though?
Yeah, there's a possibility.
I think
the money out there.
If the price is right
and the player's right,
yep. They're going.
Yeah,
the price is right. I see
Cincinnati. If Cincinnati came to you and said, "All right, so we'll give you Trey, and you give us Jordan Davis, you give us Goddard, you give us your 32 pick, and you give us your 3rd round pick," would you do it? Hell yeah! You got a guy who is going to be your edge rusher, 100%. It's worth it. You got rid of a lot of contract, and you pick up a guy who you 100% know is going to be there. Then you bring Trey in. You see what he got the first year. Then you maybe extend him. But you got your edge rusher that you need. They need a safety. They only have really 2 needs: an edge rusher and a safety. The rest are just going to be fluff players around.
Justin Simmons. I'm throwing it out there right now. Justin Simmons from Atlanta.
His problem is he wants to come here.
He does. It's
so bad.
It's going to be like a CJ GJ moment. After the draft, boom, get your ass over here. He's played for Fangio.
Yep.
And that's all I'm going to say, and that could be the captain, the mouthpiece that you're missing from BG and CJ. So I'm calling that. So
Sean, when you kept saying the price is right, dude, is all I was thinking is Happy Gilmore. The price is wrong.
Bitch.
And then somebody gets their ass kicked, you know?
Yeah.
The whole time I couldn't even concentrate on what you were saying. I was just thinking the price was wrong.
You seeing Bob Barker throwing it down?
Yeah. You know what's so funny? I swear, you know how like you hear somebody might have died, and then you're like, oh, I thought, and then they're like, oh, he died. You're like, oh, I thought he died like years ago. That happened with Bob Barker. I thought Bob Barker died like years ago, and then it came out. It was like, and then he just like, what did he just die like a year or two ago or something?
Yeah,
something. Like
yeah,
that.
I thought he died like 10 years previous. I'm like,
you know who just died?
Who's that?
Wink Martindale. Do you remember his name?
Yeah. Oh, the guy that.
Oh, he died?
Yeah, he just died about 3 days ago.
Oh wow, damn. Well then
he's back. He's way back with Barker too. The two of them, Wink Martindale and Bob Barker, were like the guys you knew on TV all the time.
Wait a minute, Wink I thought Wink Martindale was the defensive coordinator guy.
Coordinator. Relax, Joey.
No, not him. No.
Well, who the hell? Wait, who's Wink Martindale?
A talk show host, a game show,
a game show, or all that. Yes.
What show did he host? I forget.
I'll hit the phone real quick. I forget what game show.
I just remember I was upset.
No, not him.
You mentioned Cincinnati Bengals, and like that had me like game show host. That had me thinking of Jerry Springer. Remember Jerry Springer was the mayor of Cincinnati? I love Jerry's. I used to love watching Jerry Springer.
Tic-tac-toe. High rollers.
Oh wow.
This is back in my day.
You're not that much older than us, Jeff.
I'm going to be 60 in a couple months.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm older. So.
Joey's making you feel good.
I thought you were younger. Yeah.
I look younger than I am. I'm going to be 60, but my bones are about 200 breaking apart.
I know, right?
Hollywood Squares. That's it.
Oh, there you go. Hollywood Squares.
Don Davidson took over after that.
Mike Papp, what do you think of this guy, Mike Papp? Because Mel Kiper mocked this dude. Eagles. He said he likes the linebacker from Bama, Jihad Campbell. Well, Jihad Campbell, if he was healthy, he'd be like a top 15 pick, I read.
Yeah.
You know what cracks me up about? Like I know Mike Mayock. I used to work with his mother at a company years ago, and he used to come in every once in a while, have lunch with his mom, and he was actually working with Penn State, and then he was just getting ready to leave the job and do what he's doing now with picks and everything for college. And we were just chatting at one time, whatever like that. He didn't personally directly say, but I asked him, I said, when you guys do your picks, why is it you kind of brush over and say, well, I knew that, and I'm going to say like, whatever, like Jalen Hurts gets picked in and like he had somebody totally different picked, whatever. Let's say Jordan Love.
Right.
They'll say, and Jordan Love was the guy I thought about it all the time. I thought he was the guy that should have been picked there, not Jalen Hurts. It's like you just said Jalen Hurts was the one that should have been picked. I love how he brushed over, and Kiper is the best at doing that.
Yeah.
He is the absolute best. I listen to what he says, and I think, all right, he's not being picked.
Oh, I know. I remember, one of the most famous things from Kiper. I think it was the Colts. 94 draft.
It was the Colts.
Yeah, the Colts. Remember, we watched that together, Sean. I remember that. The Colts took Trev Alberts, the outside linebacker from Nebraska, and he was like, he's like, this is why the Colts don't win anything. Trent Dilfer's sitting right there, and Bill Polian's like, who the hell is Mel Kiper? That's great.
Go back in your mother's basement. Go back in your mother's basement.
Oh man,
it was great.
Yeah, damn right it was.
Foster Covers with a comment. He says, hope everyone's well. Thanks for checking us out, Foster.
Yep.
And from what I remember, I think Foster's a Bears fan. So I don't know if we're looking at the draft. I'd be interested to see.
I've seen a lot of mock drafts. NFL Network had us trading with the Bears. They get our 32nd pick.
Oh, so they moved back. Okay, so well now if that happened, I think the Bears are picking 10th. So we would be moving down to like what, 44, 42, 44, something like that.
Something like that, but yeah.
I'd be all right with that. I mean, hey, I'll tell you, all right. Does anybody want to put their nuts on the table and predict who they're going to pick? I'm going to predict. I'm going to put my nuts on the table right now. I'm going to say the Eagles we're on the Out of the Box network. I'm thinking out of the box. You know who the Eagles are going to pick, Sean?
Who?
Me, the guy Taylor, Jason Taylor's kid at tight end. Mason Taylor. The Eagles are picking. I'm calling it right now. The Eagles are going to trade Goddard. And they're going to pick, and with blood, his bloodlines, dude. He's got 2 Hall of Famers in his blood. Jason Taylor
Thomas.
And Zach Thomas is his what the fuck? Oh, shit. Was this like his uncle or some shit?
His uncle,
right?
Jason Taylor, is married to Zach Thomas's sister.
Yeah. So you want to talk about bloodlines? I mean, Christ. I'm going. That's who the Eagles are picking. They may trade down. They may move down a few spots and pick up an extra pick. But I think they're getting their young tight end of the future. I think they're getting Mason Taylor. I'm putting them on the table. Huh?
With the first pick?
Yeah. I think. Well, Daniel Jeremiah was on today.
And you heard that, and he talked to Howie Rose.
Yeah.
Well, he leaked shit.
Well, I mean, I don't.
That's not where you're going. I'm saying this. I see.
That's not. Huh?
I see where you're going.
Yeah, but that's not the reason I'm saying this, though. Because I don't buy any of those bullshit rumors. But it does kind of make sense, because if you're sitting there and you have, because this draft is deep in D-line, you know what I mean? Like, you might be able to get, say you're sitting there and you move down a couple spots, the guy you're getting at like 38 could be equivalent to the guy you might get at 64. So, but if you sit there and you think you can get a kick-ass young tight end at that spot, it might not be a bad idea.
I'm saying it right now, the safety from North Carolina. I'm not going to butcher his name.
You mean South Carolina?
What?
South Carolina, I think.
What I said. What did I say?
You said North Carolina. That's all right.
Forget that. Sorry about that. South Carolina.
Well, they've had so many storms that got blown from one state to the other.
Yeah, it's all good.
Nick Amamora. Yeah.
Just think of what's that song? We can North Carolina, come on, raise up, right?
No.
All right, whatever. You guys.
Maybe you shouldn't do the intro song.
No, I shouldn't. No, we got to see. Yeah, I don't know song lyrics anyway. Just ask Amanda. She don't. I think
they go for. Obviously, they go for an edge. I think they might go for that Pierce dude, or maybe Reed. One of the two.
Okay.
If they don't move down or get somebody in the trade, who knows?
Okay.
All right, and then does Dallas Goedert get traded
yes.
by Saturday? Yeah, I think so too.
Yes.
Yeah, Goddard gets dealt.
Bryce gets dealt.
What's that?
Bryce Huff gets dealt. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to San Fran. I'll take him for a 6th-round pick or a 5th round.
It's better than just letting him go and having to pay his contract.
Yeah.
All right, and then before we wrap up here, I got a list here because Adam Schefter said they may possibly trade for a veteran. So here's 10 possibilities of vets they may trade for. Michael Mayer, tight end from the Raiders. Sean, you and I know him well. He went to Notre Dame.
Like it. Go ahead.
I like that too. Kayvon Thibodeau, edge from the Giants. I don't see that, to be honest.
Next. I don't see it.
Tyree Wilson, edge from the Raiders. He was a first round pick, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of been a bust. Denico Autry, edge from Houston. He's going to be 30 feet. Nah, I don't see that.
Pass.
Andrew Billings, defensive tackle from Chicago.
Pass.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't really even know him. Cam Curl, safety.
No.
26 years old. The Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu.
No, thank you. Old. Age is caught up behind him. Next.
Too old. Spencer Burford, a guard from the 49ers.
No.
Yeah, Trey Pipkins, guard from the Chargers.
No.
Rashad White. Rashad White, he was with Tampa, wasn't he?
Yes. No.
I don't see that. Yeah, I don't see any of that
on
shit.
these names. If they can't get rid of Goddard instead of just releasing him, maybe they'll throw him in for one of these guys or something. Who knows? Or the picks. They were saying the 3rd or 4th round pick would be good enough for him. What some people have been saying.
Who was the defensive tackle or end that played for the Lions? Denarius something?
Rodriguez?
What?
Rodriguez was a name that came up too.
Manny Rodriguez. I see him coming here. That's one guy. I think I said that to us last week. But who's the guy that they got in a trade?
Oh,
Denarius. He played for Cleveland, and he played for, I believe, Minnesota. But anyway, they have him coming to us.
Oh, Foster Cover says Billings got hurt, and then everyone ran on the Bears. He's a solid number 2 nose tackle.
Okay.
Maybe.
I mean, a lot of those guys, it depends on compensation, and then also, the Michael Mayer is intriguing to me because he's young.
He can do it all.
Yeah, he's young. I think he can block. You know what I mean?
Well, he fell out of favor because of our boy Brock Bowers, baby Gronk. He tore it up. He seized the moment. I mean,
when it comes to like all these other players and stuff, and this is like I have this discussion with my boys. Like we try to watch as many games. We always have what do you call it? The red zone on and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a lot of these guys. You don't watch them like the scouts do from every single team. So they see these other players, so they know what these players can do. And maybe they don't fit the scheme that they're going into. We moved, Bourne, and look what the hell he did.
Right.
I mean,
but it's amazing since you bring up that, like when we signed him, I'm like, who the hell? What the hell is this dude? This dude's a special teamer. But lo and behold, Fangio seen something that the 3 of us didn't see, and the rest is history. That's what I like. I like diamonds in the rough, even in the draft, like your Terrell Davises, your John Stallworth, and like Tom Condon. I was watching something yesterday, man. He was a 13th pick, and now look at him, one of the best agents you're around. And I mean, it's just awesome.
You guys realize you could come up with a Super Bowl. You could come up with a Super Bowl winning team of a bunch of Hall of Famers with late round draft picks. So you could like Sean, like you could start with Tom Brady at quarterback, Terrell Davis at running back. You know what I mean? Like just those 2 dudes alone. A guy like Antonio Brown at receiver, I think was like a 5th, 6th round pick.
Jack damn Lambert. Oh, you're so small. Wow.
And
I them wrong.
And I always think the opposite way too. How many players do not get picked at all who probably could play in the league and be better than some of the players that are in the league?
Many. Look at the guys from your my buddy Maurice and me always talk about your HBC colleges, your Division 2s and 3s. There's guys out there, they just never get the chance that your like your Division 1 and 2s and 1A get. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Like they should have like almost like a tryout or like a little mini like a maybe another draft, but it would be
almost like another combine type thing for players to start drafting afterwards. Did they have that show on there where they had players doing that, showing their stuff? It was on HBO.
Something like that.
It was I think
so. What they have, but I mean, there's probably many players. I know it's the easy one to say, but Kurt Warner. I mean, you get Kurt Warner bagging groceries, and he was down and out. Look what he did.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because next Wednesday, so I'm breaking out the old school next Wednesday. I wrote an article about Buddy Ryan about a couple months ago.
Yeah.
On the Streampunk net, right, Sean?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So next Wednesday night at 6, we're going to do a show on the Buddy Ryan era. So any football fans out there, especially if you're around our age, because when I started watching football, it was the Buddy Ryan era. Sean, I think you too, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So
white baby.
So I wrote an article on it that I'll post this week or whatever again. And next week, it's Wednesday at 6:00.
Yep.
We're going to do a show on the Buddy Ryan era Eagles. And when you were mentioning guys in the draft that weren't drafted, ironically, Buddy Ryan had a great eye for defensive talent because there's two guys that would actually, the draft used to be 12 rounds, as you guys know. Mm-hmm. So there were two guys in particular that he drafted in like the 9th and the 10th round, in Seth Joyner and Clyde Simmons, that would be undrafted free agents nowadays that wound up having, borderline Hall of Fame careers.
Amazing. Yep.
Yeah. So that's, that's a good little, tidbit. But anyway, we're all looking forward to the future, you know what I mean, with the draft and everything. So, next Wednesday, take a ride in the DeLorean and get a little Back to the Future vibe, and go back to the past, and try to recapture what made you fall in love with football. Because my theory is, I mean, Buddy Ryan, he didn't win here. He didn't win the whole thing, and he had his faults. I mean, just offensively, never getting an offensive line, telling Randall to make 5 big plays. But as a defensive mind, Buddy Ryan's a top 5 to 10 defensive mind ever in the National Football League. And he also had a great eye for talent. And I contend that, the Eagles were always popular in this city, but, and maybe I'm biased because that's when I started watching, but I feel like the Buddy Ryan era really, really made the Eagles front page news in the city of Philadelphia. I mean, they were
arrogant like Philadelphia. I mean, he had that personality of Philadelphia. But nothing. I mean, I've downloaded it off of YouTube. Every once in a while, I watch the Body Bowl game. You just have to watch it. I mean, it's just hysterical in a way if you think about it. Yeah, that was just unbelievable.
Well, it's not only that too. Like I can't wait to discuss it. Like Reggie White, when I was playing football, like I emulated his style. He just was a beast. Just his technique and what he brought to the game, on and off, But yeah, I mean, that defense was relentless.
Yeah.
Put fear in you. Ask Phil Simms. He didn't like playing them, Sure as hell, Troy Aikman during the 90s, who were damn good, didn't like playing them, the list goes on and on. I mean,
it's a damn shame that team should have won. That defense should have won a Super Bowl. It's a damn
absolutely
shame.
From the Eric Allen, from Wes Hopkins. I mean, I can't wait to talk about it, break it down, and
it's going to be
all that other stuff. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. We'll have a blast. It'll be exciting, and relive some good memories. And the cool thing is that we could go back and look at that era with a smile and knowing we're world champions now. So, so it's kind of cool. You know what I mean?
Damn right.
And I love it right now that Emmitt Smith is tired of Go Birds.
Oh,
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. I know. They're all butthurt, but that's all right. You have to dust off the VCR tapes. You know what I mean?
Emmitt, put a VHS tape in if you're that hurt. Dust them off, put them in there. Sip your Tang or whatever, your Metamucil, whatever you want, and eat your bag of Tostitos and just enjoy the 90s flashback.
I know. Do you realize, because we were seniors in high, they won the Super Bowl the last time they won the Super Bowl was the 95 season. So it was February of 96. So if you're like 29. Yeah, if you're like 29 years old, you weren't even in your dad's balls the last time they won the Super Bowl.
Nope.
So you have no shit to talk at all. There is no way. You only can talk shit as a sports fan if you were alive. If you weren't in the balls, then you can't talk shit. That's my.
You mean to tell me I can't argue about my 5 trophies?
Yeah.
Please. Don't get me started. But yeah.
Yeah. Don't make me pull a Sergeant Gunnery Hartman. Remember Sergeant Gunnery Hartman? He's like, the best part of you ran down your mama's back and on the wall or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, on that note, let's.
And thank God the Flyers. I love the Flyers, but the Flyers and the Sixers are done, so we don't have to talk about them anymore.
Yep,
I know.
good
I don't have
riddance.
to root.
Peace.
Yeah, I don't have to root for. I know. I don't have to root for losses. And then whoever runs the Wells Fargo Center or whatever, like they want to charter a plane and just like and put these guys on Castaway Island because they don't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Just
can you
concerts.
imagine owning that building? You have like no events the whole spring. Meanwhile,
Just
like all these
concerts.
other places,
Concerts and what do you call those Circus du Soleil things and all that shit.
Yeah, Circuit
There's
du
not really
Soleil.
much going on down there.
Well, don't worry,
Yeah.
because their naming contracts is running out. It's going to be interesting
See
what
who
they're going
buys
to be
it.
called. You're either going to go to the Wawa Center. I think it's going to be called Aramark. They just got too much money, and it makes sense.
Possibility, yeah.
Yeah, but whatever.
they ought to call it the FU Center again because the fans have been getting
That was
FU'd
great.
since they moved in there pretty much.
That was such a good name. You know, I'm still actually pissed at, and I would love to go after them because I bought a brick. I don't know if you remember when they had the bricks.
I remember you telling me the story, yeah.
And they dug them up and got rid of them, and I have a certificate, and it's still hanging on my wall saying that brick is for infamy, and that when that brick is taken out, you will be sent the brick and have that for the rest of your life. They never did that. They just threw them away. I want my brick.
I don't blame you. That's you know what? Hey, they used to have the curse.
I'll help you out with it. Just
You
tell
know
me
what
what you want on it.
Yeah, you know what my theory is, Jeff. Remember they used to have the curse of William Penn, and then the Phillies broke it.
Yeah.
Now it's the Wells Fargo. Both our teams blow because it's the curse of the brick.
Well, I can see that, but I still want my brick.
I don't blame you.
I had in my will, I literally had in my living will that when I die and I get cremated, I wanted somebody to dig up my brick and bury my ashes under the brick and put it back down again. Now it's gone.
Yeah,
now what am I going to do?
Preserve your brick.
Somebody got to drive or fly a helicopter over top of there and sprinkle the ashes when the Flyers win the cup. Okay.
Well, let's hope they win.
It's gonna be a lot of
they win another one while we're all alive.
Yeah.
But all right, well, listen, let's get ready to wrap up here. Anyway, big week this week. Hopefully, Howie Roseman pulls his good ass moves. Hopefully, Aaron Nola doesn't give up like 50 million home runs tonight, and let's hope the Phillies have a good week. So. We'll see you all next week.
Go Fightins, go Birds.
Go Birds, go Fightins.
That's it. Have a good one, guys.
Peace.